Oh, if you're like most people, you know what? You would rather run away than ever talk on the platform. So, in fact, you'll call in sick, you'll make excuses, you do pretty much anything you could to not speak in front of an audience, and you shouldn't be like that. So, we're going to talk a little bit today. I've got my friend Chris Widener who just finished another book. I'm like, he's like the book freak, man. The guy's written. Well, okay, so what book number is that?
Well, in the last 4 years since COVID, I've written 3 books for myself, and I've written 2 books for other people. So
Okay, no, how many books in total? Like 20 something?
25, 25. This is my number 25. Some of them are no longer in print. My early ones, and it's good news that they're no longer in print.
Okay, you're still making me look bad, bro. Like that's insanity, man. I got one book. Oh, but I got it in multiple languages. I think I got the Spanish version right here.
There you
So,
go.
yeah, and I got it in German, and I think I got it in Turkish, but whatever. We're not talking about books today. So,
Yeah.
But hey, congrats on the new book, by the way.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I'm excited about it.
So Chris and I have done a couple of lives on my platforms over the last, I don't know, year plus. For those of you who don't know Chris, he and I go pretty way back. I mean, probably 20 something years. Met when I was living in Seattle. We had teriyaki together. We did not have Thai.
I know, but they were right next door to each other, which is why I always confuse it.
Yeah, it was good teriyaki, man. Yeah, we connected a long time ago when I was living in Seattle when I was beginning my speaking career, and he has been speaking.
When I was a young boy, my mother used to take me to hear you speak. So,
yeah. So, and he's got a little bit of humor. So, written a bunch of books. Great speaker. Worked personally with Jim Rohn for a number of years. He and I are doing a speakers academy coming up, but what we wanted to do is just share a couple tips on one particular subject, and that is stage fright. And I'm curious, by the way, and just so you guys know, I'm dead serious when I say this. Anytime I do like lives or interviews with people, there's nothing planned. I don't have this list of 10 questions. Like, you got to notice, like, if I'm asking somebody questions, I never really ask the same question. I'm just kind of digging. So we got no pre-plan. So I actually have no idea what Chris's answer is going to be. So Chris, I am curious, like what have you done and what do you teach specifically with regard to helping somebody get rid of stage fright?
Well, I'll tell you a funny story that actually segues in, because I didn't know you were going to introduce it that way, but it goes into the very first point I want to make. There is a reason why every time you can get on a live or every time you get on a stage, you don't have to prepare per se. Reminds me, I used to be a pastor. So, I mean, I cut my teeth doing, 100 and 150 gigs a year in a church, right? Not speaking engagements, but speaking speeches. And I remember one time I did one on tithing, giving money to the Lord. And somebody came up to me and said, "How long did it take you to prepare that sermon?" And I said, "About 10 years. And they said, 10 years? You spent 10 years? I said, "Yeah. Every time I got to 5 days left in the month and I had $20 in the bank, I was learning about God's provision, about tithing," right? So I kind of make a joke do you know, you are prepared. You haven't specifically prepared, but your entire life of learning and growth, and you are fully prepared to jump onto a live or to jump onto a stage, not because you haven't specifically prepared, but because it goes to my first point, which is the number one way to overcome stage fright is know your material. Because the number one thing people get afraid of is they're going to get up on the stage and go, "I want to talk about, how to make money. Point number one." Boy, what was point number one? And then you look like a moron. So honestly, know your stuff is the number one. And I'll just tell one real brief story again. I was in Seattle and I was giving a speech. I held a handheld microphone. Guy comes up to me afterwards and he says, "How can you give a speech for 30 minutes without a note?" And I said, "You could give a speech for 30 minutes without a note." And he said, "Oh, I could never give a speech for 30." I said, "Sure you could." He said, "How?" And I said, "Well, where do you work?" He said, "Boeing." I said, "What do you do at Boeing?" This is how long ago it was. He said, "I'm in charge of wing design for the new 777. Well, the 777 has been out for a while. So this is how long ago it was. I'm in charge of wing design for the 777. I held the microphone out to him and I said, if I asked you to right now to give me 30 minutes on wing design, could you do it? And he goes, oh, yeah, I could definitely do that. Why? Because he knows his stuff. That's the number one thing you can do. Know your stuff.
Yeah, I would firmly agree with that. I actually did a training last night for about an hour and a half for a company, and I had not a single note in front of me. I had a thought. And my thought was, this guy wanted me to come in and train on how to get good at prospecting and recruiting. So that's the only
when were you training? You've been training for 30 years for that speech.
Dude, all the time. So, if you said, hey, Todd, could you speak for 30 minutes about furniture design? I'm like, I could say furniture design, right, but I would be completely nervous. And I mean, I've even had, like, years ago, as an example, I had a company I was speaking on it for in San Diego, and they're like, hey, we want you to talk about, it was like some aspect of social media. And I was like, not the expert in that. I mean, I could talk, for a long time about social media, but I was like, no, I actually told him, I said, I'd be very uncomfortable speaking about that because that is not my area of expertise.
I do the same thing when people ask about customer service. I said, being a professional speaker, I could put together a pretty good customer service, find a few funny stories, a few bad stories, a few excellent stories, wrap it up. I could do 30 minutes on it, but I'm not an expert on it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm in 100% agreement. Know your stuff. The second thing I would just add is, knowing your stuff is one thing, but for people, like, here's the thing, and like you and I, because we've done this for so long, like spoken professionally, we can say know your stuff. But also, if I'm going to go speak for the first time about the stuff that I know about, and I haven't yet, okay, like this guy, for example, the wing engineer. Yeah, it would probably be a good idea for him to maybe bullet point out a handful of items, not write it out in paragraphs, but like point number one, length of the wing, whatever shape, whatever. I don't know anything about wings, so I don't even know where I'm going there, but to bullet point it out. So what I would say, for me, like, especially, and I like, the truth is, like, I don't know if it's not fear that I have. But there's definitely my heart rate will increase prior to jumping on the platform right as I'm getting introduced. It's not like I'm scared to go do it or I'm afraid of doing so, but I will have a slide deck, not for, partially for me, if it's a long training, to just keep myself, in order. Because for me, I mean, I'll go here, I'll go there, I'll go everywhere. And so one suggestion I would have if you're invited to speak is, okay, that's fine. First of all, know your stuff. Number two, have a basic plan of what you're going to say. It doesn't need to be written out, but a basic plan of the stuff that you already know that you're going to say. That's going to be helpful for you.
Well, and one of the things that we're going to do in the Speakers Academy, the Master of Influence Speakers Academy, is we're going to show you how to structure your speech. We're going to show you how to take that information that you all have. And every one of you is probably an expert. The vast majority of you are an expert in, you might be a real estate agent. A real estate agent should know how to do public speaking. And frankly, they should have a book, the 7 things you need to know before you sell your house. Now you become the expert. We're going to talk a little bit about book publishing in the Speakers Academy. You should be able to give a presentation. You should be able to give a speech. You should go to Rotary. You should go to the Chamber of Commerce. You should go to the Kiwanis. You should go to the Lions. You should go to all those animal groups that support other people and give a little speech. And we're going to show you how to have a little structure where you can take your expertise. Like, I couldn't tell you the 7 things you need to do before you sell a house, but if you're a real estate agent, you could. And you should be the known go-to expert in your area. And one of the ways you can do that is through having a speech that you go and give to local community groups, life insurance, money manager, any sort of profession, roofer. I'm in a networking group with she's like a 70-year-old woman who is just the greatest gal. She owns a roofing company. So next week she's got her 12-minute spot, because we got a couple little ones, and then we have like a 12-minute spot. This gal, she's like 70 years old. She's doing our 12-minute focus speech in our networking group next week. And she says, oh, I do this all the time. I'm going to bring roof vents and I'm going to bring some different kinds of materials. She's got her whole thing, and she's building her business by giving speeches.
Wow. Yeah. So Chris and I wanted to pop on here just for a few minutes on a Friday afternoon and give you a little nugget, a little chunk. Take it, use it, apply it. And if you have an interest in becoming a better speaker, whether it's to monetize it and have a speaking business where you're actually getting paid to speak, which is pretty cool, or you just want to, you get invited to get up on stage for something and not freak out and be able to confidently go do that. Regardless of what your business is. I know a lot of people that follow me are involved in network marketing, but I've also got people in all sorts of different businesses. This is for anybody who is an entrepreneur in sales, real estate, insurance, whatever you do. Anytime if you present ever for anybody, this is going to be a helpful thing for you. And we're going to cover two. I'll just say we're going to split it in half. We're going to talk about stagecraft, like all the things that happen on the stage, and then we're going to talk about the business side. And then there's multiple components to each of those equations. So it starts on October 15th. I'm going to verbally give the domain to you to go register. It's toddfalcone.com. That's TODDFALCONE, by the way, .com/speakers. Get yourself registered. And it's virtual. So you don't have to leave your house to do it. We're going to do it in a hotel and make you fly someplace, but we're able to deliver everything that we need to in a virtual format. So it saves you a ton of money and you can do it from the convenience of your home. So check that out. That's Masters of Influence Speakers Academy with me and my buddy here, Chris Widener. And we'll see you on October 15th. So if you want to be a better speaker, bang, get yourself registered. Chris, any final words?
Yeah, we just got so much. I mean, between Todd and I
don't know what happened. There you are.
Between Todd and I, we've done over 5,000 speeches over the last 30, 35 years. And we both started out as young men. We've made mistakes. We've learned. We've grown. If you have even remotely thought about this, let us cut your learning curve off. Let us help you learn how much you should charge and how to find speaking engagements. I mean, the whole thing, the business side, the stagecraft side, and we priced it at such a level that it's truly a no-brainer if you've even remotely considered it.
Absolutely. So you see the link. I gave it to you verbally. Go check it out and have yourself an amazing Friday and amazing weekend. Chris, appreciate you for being with me today, and I'll look forward to being with you at the Speakers Academy.
Awesome.
Thanks all.